Hello everyone, this is the Tone Deaf Monk. Today I am going to talk about my journey with the 7 Hz Sonus. I bought these ones from Linsoul for the $59 when they came out, and love the presentation that it comes with. This beautiful box, the orange box, everything is well put together as a presentation, especially for this price point. There's nothing to complain about at all with that. I don't see any of that. Maybe it came with a case. Oh, it did come with a little pouch. That's what it was. It came with a little pouch that had 7 Hertz on it. I don't have it here. Anyway, that's not the important stuff. It's connected to my Shanling M6U 4.4 into my X-Duo XD05 Pro, so it's running the AKM DAC. Let's talk about the IMs themselves. And this cable. I know 7 Hertz was talking up this flat cable, and it made a sonic difference. It was really well matched to the IM. Okay, I'll give you that. So all of my listening impressions are done using the stock cable in 3.5. I would have got a 4.4, but it wasn't available. That's okay. As for the IEMs themselves, absolutely spectacularly looking. I got the red ones with the racing stripes, 7 Hertz logo engraved in it. It's super nice. The nozzles themselves are still all resin. So the bottom part is a resin shell. We've seen KZ do this, and it's kind of like that molded shell. So quite nice there. One thing also you can notice is you can clearly see the balanced armature is not shoved into the actual nozzle itself. It is sitting in behind a little bit. And looks like there's probably a little tube that goes from the BA. It's hard to tell. Or it could be just firing into the nozzle itself. But that's the IM itself. And I burn this bad boy in on low, as per recommendation, per the hours it also recommended on low volumes for the first little while, and then turning up to gradually to listening volumes, and I did them for the full 130 hours. Now, my listening impressions. How do these things sound? Disappointing, actually. Spoiler, right there. And it was interesting because I also had the EC YST02s here, and I did a comparison. So they're both one dynamic driver, one BA, and they're both priced exactly the same at $59. We'll get into that, but let's just talk about how I heard the 7 Hertz Sonus. Well, it likes warmer sources. I did say that ear tips are needed to control some of the splashiness that I heard, and I used the JVC FX10 spiral dots. But how did they sound for me after, even with that stock cable? They sound a bit hollow, tell you the truth. They lack dynamics with a sometimes relaxed high end. It's a very strange kind of tuning, and definitely not my favorite. It kind of plays back unemotionally, really. It didn't engage me, let's put it that way. I found the vocals and the mids sound a bit veiled and shouty at the same time. So it's just very, again, like I said, it's a bit of a strange tuning. I don't know if it's the drivers or the tuning, but maybe we're just reaching the limitations of the drivers that got used. The top end, for me, lacked resolution and clarity. Instruments sounded off. It didn't sound right. And this stage is intimate, to say the least. There was no excitement for me. Bass does hit when called upon, for sure. But it seems the driver itself seems to run out of steam on the bottom end. In the sub bass, it just can't seem to play low and keep the low notes in control. For the mids, let's talk about those again, because I think that's kind of the big downfall of the 7 Hz Sonus. They sound forced to me, unbalanced in the mix. It was hard to describe, but listening to different IAMs, it was easy to pick that out. It's easy to give a review and say, hey, this sounds like this, but it's also very important to do a comparison to other things and not just your reference, right? Like, I'm listening to one, swapping it out, listening to the other, and then you go, oh yeah, okay, that it does sound like that. So the mids were definitely not my favorite. The bass is probably the most standout feature on the Sonus, but again, it kind of lacked the sub bass depth, right? It was kind of one-dimensional bass. The highs here, for me, they sound a bit splashy and yet undefined. That's kind of how I heard it. Just some track, something that I made notes of. I'm not going to go through tons of tracks, and honestly, I stopped listening to this after 30 songs because it didn't push me to any emotional level at all. And let's just talk about a couple tracks. Metallica, You Will Burn. Here, the vocals sound really forced. And the highs are out of proportion in the mix. The bass hits were nice. They were powerful and full. So that sounded great. Marianne by Ray Charles. Shouty mids. Splashy top end. Instruments sound unnatural in this track. And honestly, when I started to dial it up, I cringed and I turned it down. Now I'm using a good source and great clean power. So that's not it, right? It's not like I'm running it off a phone or there's some good gear behind it. So that's not the case here. Colors by Halsey. Again, shouty vocals sound recessed or veiled. Really, that's probably the great word for the mids on the Sonus. Missing the sub bass and a shouty top end. Let's do some EDM on Power, Bastille. The highs actually in this one for EDM sounded crisp, clean, and clear. More mid-forward, bass is tight. So not bad, except for when you compared it to like the EST or the YST02, then you heard the smooth vocals and a better balance in the mix. And this is talking about this in stock form, right? And I'll talk a little bit later about that. Chant of the Palladian by Dead Can Dance. The Sonus, the finger cymbals sound realistic. They actually did. Vocals are weirdly thin on this track, and compared to reference. Maybach by 42 Doug. Vocals sound congested again. Bass goes down low, but it loses control and distorts. So, yeah, does it do rap? I'm going to go with a negative on that one. Where comparatively, again, YSTO2, bass goes way lower. Better tonality, technical details, and the vocals have more weight, yet the highs have more sparkle on the YSTO2. So that was an interesting comparison between the two. Be the One by Dua Lipa. Forward vocals sound thin and shouty. Bass gets washed out by the highs. And again, as a comparison, the YSTO2, it's smoother, better vocals, better balanced. 2 years ago, last track, bear with me. Ellie Goulding, sorry. Sonus, the sheen on the vocals that clouds the details and resolution. YSTO2 as the comparison. You can hear the mixed in effects way better. The Sonus washes them out. More resolution, more details on the EC YSTO2, and the vocals are so much smoother, and you can actually tell the stage, where the stage on the Sonus, even with wide bore tips, I didn't get any. So that's my impressions of the Sonus. Where do I go from here? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a rant as well. So, a couple things that happened. I listened to all my track impressions. I did my comparisons. Then last step is I threw them on the 711 coupler clone rig. And then it popped up as the right channel had little more than 3 dB of channel imbalance in the sub bass and in the very high end. I'm not going to go with the too high end because a lot of that past 8K is not accurate anyway, but definitely in the sub bass where you could hear, and I was picking that up, but I wasn't going to do anything until I graphed it, and that was, yes, it confirmed what I was hearing. So our brains do something weird. I mean, if it's a little bit lacking on sub bass here, the left ear will then compensate. So not too terribly a big deal, and it's not the worst channel imbalance I've ever seen, including some really high end sets where there was big channel imbalance. And so it's not terrible. So what did I do? Well, I bought these from Linsoul, so I first reached out to the rep on Discord and email, and I got an interesting response. Now, before I was doing reviews and just was, I think when I first started it, I was doing this for a bit. The EA 500, and then I bought a EA 200 and an EA 100. That's the one I do. And I said the same thing. I sent it in Discord, and I said, hey, just so you know, this is my graph. I have a little bit of channel imbalance on one side. And they couriered me out a new one. I'm sorry. And you get it because it's Chi-Fi. It could happen, right? I will say that the SimGo stuff typically measures bang on, perfect across. That's what kind of weirded me out, and probably them too. Same as in Penon. I had a second-hand serial, and I reached out to Penon, and they offered to replace the set for me, send mine in. I pay shipping. They'll send a new one back, shipping as well. That's good customer service. What did Linsoul do for me? If you saw the message back, it said, hey, we'll send you an RMA, but if it's proven that our equipment doesn't measure what your equipment measures, we're pretty much going to basically send your set back and you're going to have to pay shipping. What was the exact wording? Thank you. It was condescending. I thought it was anyway. And then the email that I got with the RMA, and it said, please read, instructions only, the warranty instructions. You got to follow it, and this is our refund policy. And I haven't done it before, and honestly, there's a whole bunch of wording in there. I mean, if you've ever bought anything from AliExpress, where you gotta take pictures, you gotta shoot video, and if that's not good enough, you gotta shoot another video, and if that's not good enough, shoot another video, and then finally you might get a return authorization, and then and that's what this was. And there's just pages and pages of gibbly-gook. When is warranty covered? When is warranty not covered? It's leaving a bad taste in my mouth, that's for sure. And I just bought the XDO5. That was over $1,000 Canadian for me. That was a big chunk of change too. And I'm not feeling the love here. And I've defended Linsoul before on their warranty policies, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I think that's not great service. I've clearly proven, and I've measured hundreds of IM. So it's not me, and it's not my testing gear that is the issue here. If there's a channel imbalance, there's a channel imbalance, and it's pretty good. Am I going to send this set back and do all that? No, I'm not. I'm probably just going to gift this set and to somebody, some young audiophile, and move on. But I wanted to bring that to your attention because I guarantee you've had the same experience that I've had. Yeah. Anyway, next chapter. Enough about the Sonus. I'm done with that. Am I recommending it? No. What I am going to recommend to you is the EC YST02 again. I did another video of it, and I was quite impressed. Between the two, stock cable, 3.5 cable, and the IMs themselves, this is a better purchase. This is a better tuned IM. The vocals are cleaner. The highs are cleaner. The stage is better. The bass is, again, more prominent. And if you looked at the graphs, though, I'd said this in my video of the